細胞卒業時半や腹見た辞書言語案回駆動細工薬者理士式具意空空意識式即税空空即税式重創病死薬部尿税者理士税証拠総務証拠空空空上空増減税航空中分式分創業式無限に微別式無式
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Valley of the Judged. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me, as OBS decides to be a little bit late on the thing, I have one good brother and one good sister here in the temple tonight. In the red corner, we have the man who currently seems to be the chief baker of the temple. Good brother Monarch.
I have some very good original recipes I have managed to come up with. Half of them I think would kill Mildred.
Half of them, if you put them in front of me, I would probably teach you involuntary yoga.
It's why I have pocket cocoa instead of pocket sand.
Cocoa.
You realize
You
it's
don't
just
have
gonna make
that
me
anymore.
angrier, right?
Do you not like cocoa? What's going on here?
I'm allergic to the
like chocolate?
cocoa bean. So
Oh.
most chocolate
That's very
is
tragic.
off the table for me, and offering me chocolate is an insult.
Damn. You're worse off than me, and I'm a canine.
Like it's not gonna kill me. I'll just be miserable for about half an hour.
Oh.
But leaving it on my desk, that is a declaration of war.
Alright. That's good to know. I'll never bring you chocolates.
Yeah.
I'll bring you... I don't know, Swedish fish or something.
That is perfectly fine. But
Yeah.
and of course, our resident guard dog of the monastery.
Not a dog.
Close enough.
God damn it.
Well, you're the reason we have the Beware of Wolves sign on the pathway up to the mountain.
Yes. Here there be wolves.
Good sister Bailey. So
It's me.
yeah, we were a little bit late for various reasons, and also giving Bailey a bit of a catch up from last time since she wasn't here last week.
Yes. And thank you for the catch-up. I appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Oh yeah, and hey, hello there, Scalia and Wild Gambit. Welcome to the madness. And Gambit, thank you for the follow.
Woo.
So this time around, we're going to be covering GM mechanics, and specifically a lot of the mechanics that are in Chapter 3, Running an Adventure, which is ostensibly the GM section.
Typically we'd skip a lot more of this than we will be now. Now we will be skimming a bunch, but because of how turn order works with that spotlight system we covered last week, it's going to be kind of important to at least look at how the GM's actually going to be taking turns.
Yep. And incidentally, there's a few interesting things I see in this particular bit of art. Like the market that has mandragoras for sale. I mean, some of the other things that are typical in a bazaar. And using a rune to get someone to sneak into someone's memories, it's, well, if you're gonna have a bazaar, this kind of bizarre kind of market, inevitably you're gonna have a thief. But
I mean, you gotta.
Now, I'll give you a heads up, I did kind of skim a bit. The first time we actually do get to mechanics in this chapter that we normally cover, it would be 147 when we get to the GM's die. The previous pages are all your typical kind of GM advice, how to handle the game. Good to have here, not something we typically cover.
Yeah. Like the GM principle stuff, a lot of this is important for GMs, but for us, when we're dissecting the way the game actually plays, not all that important. Huh. Although I do appreciate that that this kind of stuff is there instead of throwing someone into the middle of the pool and saying swim, damn it. But then we get to GM mechanics properly with the GM's die. So the GM does not use 2d12. Instead, they use 1d20. And it's more about calculating whether or not something hits. So whether or not it meets or beats evasion. And if it does hit, rolling for damage. And much like more litigious RPGs, if you roll a 20 on the d20, it's a crit. And you essentially have the high crit rule that we've talked about before. You know, if you crit on damage, you max out the die and then you roll them again.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. Also, Gambit says Daggerheart has become one of my favorite TTRPGs very quickly. I will hold off on whether or not it is mine yet. I'm not gonna go that far to say it because, well, I cover way too many RPGs to have any of them be my quote unquote favorite.
Also, I've never played it. It seems pretty cool, but I've never played it.
But see, then it talks about calling for action rolls, which is again more of the advice, and a lot of this was stuff that we've covered previously. But I feel like the fact that you roll a d20 instead of 2d12 is to ensure that the whole hope and fear dynamic is focused on the players and not the GM. Because if you rolled 2d20, if you rolled 2d12, sorry, then you'd have a situation where the GM might be generating hope and fear.
I mean, you could very easily just say GM does not generate hope and fear doing it that way regardless. I think what they specify in here is probably more the reason. It makes like the DM rolls a lot more varied, whereas the 2d12 is going to make your player rolls a bit more consistent.
Yeah. Then let's see how to choose a move. And a bit of a reference for resolving action rolls. If there's a GM screen, this little box here should be on it. Let's see, then obvious moves, undermining success, soft and hard moves. Then some example GM moves. And then we get to fear. So when you start a campaign, you begin with an amount of fear equal to the number of PCs. When a PC rolls with fear, you gain a point of fear. You can also gain fear from the players taking downtime, certain PC abilities or spells, and specific adversary features. You can hold up to a maximum of 12. I feel bad for any GM who has a party of 12.
I was gonna say, what if you have a party of 13? Like, what do you do?
I think in that case,
You play with two different groups, because no. Look, I briefly, for a few weeks, ran 9 people on Pathfinder just because people kept showing up to the store we were playing at.
Jesus.
That is a struggle to make work. I am glad some of them had to not keep coming. I don't know how long I could have kept that going.
The world's largest dungeon about 20 years ago. Give or take a few years. And we had 3 GMs total, and the only reason I did it was because the guy who organized the whole thing was willing to buy me lunch and buy me drinks.
You bribed with food. That's excellent.
He bribed me with local beer.
Local beer. What kind of beer? It's very important.
Summit. If you're not from the Midwest, you're not going to know what that is.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but it's probably pretty good.
Yeah, it is. It's just you're only going to get it in Minnesota.
Oh,
Maybe Wisconsin or Illinois if you're lucky, but when I say it's local, I mean it's that kind of local.
ooh, the cans are pretty.
But now tracking fear can be done with a token, done with a die. I'd probably use a D12. I'd probably use a D12 for it, if I'm playing physically, and I'd probably do the paperclip approach if I'm doing elsewhere. But I don't think I'm going to be showing how much fear is showing up. And Shiro, don't worry about lurking. Stay frosty, man. But when it comes to spending, you can interrupt the players to make a move, make an additional GM move, use an adversary's fear feature, use the environment's fear feature, or add an adversary's experience to a roll. Which pretty much tracks with what I expected fear was going to be. I had a feeling it was going to be the make the player's life interesting kind of mechanic. Similar to the dark side points in Star Wars Genesis or the Doom Pool in Marvel Heroic. Still need to read through Cortex Prime and cover that, given how much I loved the Cortex system back in the day.
Nice.
But when it comes to the whole turn order thing, and I think this is where the idea of turn order that they want to go with starts to coalesce. But it is hinging on the idea that the GM is going to have a certain amount of fear at a given point.
Which I remember when we looked at classes, like, you could easily make a set of characters that just says no fear for the GM anymore. Or at least very little fear.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they're not going to be completely starved of fear, but the right build can diminish it. Now, when it comes to the adversary and environment fear features, I'm going to put a pin in that until we get to those kind of mechanics. We do have a bit of a guide on how much fear you should reasonably spend in a scene. But like, it goes up to 1 fear if it's incidental, 1 to 3 if it's a minor scene, 2 to 4 if it's a standard scene, 4 to 8 if it's a major scene, and 6 to 12 if it's a climactic scene. One kind of thing I'd probably house rule is that certain contextual events generate fear on their own. I would also, as a GM, not tell the players how much fear I have. Like, at all.
Why would you do that?
But they also talk about improvising fear moves, so there is that as well. And fear moves usually include one or more of these elements. Introducing new adversaries to a scene when their appearance hasn't been foreshadowed or lacks context. This reminds me of Robin Laws talking about just add ninjas in Feng Shui. Like, if the plot is slowing down, add ninjas. Even if you're in a locked room, they somehow found a way in, or they were always there. You just didn't notice. Oh. Or an adversary activating a powerful spell or transformation to deal massive damage or boost their capabilities. Or an environment exerting a strong negative effect on the party. So again, fear is meant to make things interesting. Which for a game that is focused on high drama like this certainly tracks. Also, I love the image we've got here of an ambush, which illustrates my point perfectly. If you need to add some chaos to the roll, add more to the scene, add ninjas.
I always like the frog ninja look. I don't know why. But yeah, we do get something next for setting difficulty rolls with a nice table of examples for what those numbers actually end up meaning.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's something that came up a while ago. We'd like to see some more information on this.
Yeah.
And here we got it.
Mm-hmm.
With a good amount of examples.
And Maxim saying, I'm now picturing ninjas throwing D12s instead of shuriken. You're thinking too small. They're throwing D4s instead of caltrops.
I mean, do they need caltrops? Are any of our vehicles hired? EP.
You're saying that they're saying that the vehicle is a bicycle? Too tired?
Precisely. Or just made out of wood, like a wagon wheel.
Well, if it's drawn by a beast of burden, maybe.
Oh yeah, if it's strong. Yeah, that's true. I'll step on it. Oof, ouch, owie, my hooves.
But okay, I keep getting recommended these shorts that deal with hoof repair for like cows and and the like. So I don't know. Maybe you can make something work on that front. But I do kind of wish there was a bit of hinting when it comes to the whole roll difficulty thing earlier, like in the very first chapter, where it's explaining how the dice work.
I mean, like, what do you mean?
Like this whole range thing between 5 to 30. Part of me wishes that was in there, or at least a tease of it earlier.
Oh yes, no, that would have been a good idea.
Yeah, at the very least, what the baseline is. And since we have it that the baseline is 15, which isn't far moved from where it is in the most litigious role-playing game, I'm gonna load up any dice. I'm not putting it on stream, but let's see.
Oh no, he's bringing out the math.
Yep. I'm bringing out the probability calculator. So, the odds of a straight roll beating 15 with 2d12 is 31%. Which actually makes it a better chance than using this with a d20. By a few percent at least. It's obviously a roll beating 15 on a straight d20 roll, that's a 25% chance. So it's slightly higher, but not too high. And if we're assuming an easy roll, which they're saying is 10, it's just shy of 70. So there is certainly that option.
Also, this is just 2d12, right? With no modifiers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense.
obviously, if I put in the different modifiers, it's going to change. But I wanted the bare minimum.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I'm just double checking.
Mm-hmm. It also talks about degrees of success or failure, but I feel like instead of saying different outcomes, it could have given some kind of thing of instead of multiple target numbers, some sort of threshold, I guess. We do see that in certain games. We see that in, say, Dark Heresy and the like, where you can add additional ands depending on how high or low you roll.
Oh, you mean like Pathfinder? I'm mentioning that for Maximum in the chat.
Oh.
And 10 below or 10 above is critical.
Yeah,
In Pathfinder, at least.
To a point. But then we have some examples of difficulty settings. I'm glad that this is here, to give a bit of context. And then
So many tables.
Yep. Enough for me to make the I am the table reference, but we don't have the Japanese table spot. For those of you who do not watch enough Puroresu, it has been a running meme for the longest time of Japanese tables not breaking on a table spot. And Botchamania made it worse by adding the Iori laugh when it doesn't happen.
What is a table spot?
Pro wrestling when you put someone through a table.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's okay.
I think one of the most infamous cases was at Reality of Wrestling, which was Booker T's own promotion, where it was supposed to be you had to put somebody through a table in order to win the match, but the table would not break even after getting used 4 times because somebody forgot to. You're supposed to take out the wiring so that it breaks easy, but somebody forgot to do it.
Yeah, I feel like that's like just straight up like harming people, like physically, like badly, right?
Look, it ain't ballet. But Maxim says Joe's just to roast me for being a Pathfinder 2E GM.
Yes, I do. That is true.
Look, in this monastery, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all are cremated equal.
Nah, dude. Pathfinder's a bit.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Obviously, Monarch has covered Pathfinder 1E quite a bit, including doing a whole stream trying to fix the Ranger.
Oh, God.
I don't think I did a stream doing that.
A long-ass time ago you did, and you talked with me about trying to fix the Ranger.
Yeah, we talked a bit about some of this. I don't think this was a stream about that. I just think it was like part of a stream, if I remember right.
Yeah.
But yes.
And I will note even though people have had issues with the Ranger in Pathfinder or in 5e, it is not a new problem. It says you fixed Ranger by playing Slayer. Yeah, but that's a bandage, not a fix.
You fix Ranger by playing Fighter with a bow. I don't know if that's a Pathfinder 1E thing it can do, really, but...
Mm-hmm. But, see, then we have giving advantage and disadvantage, which is... We already covered how that works. Then adversary rolls, which, as mentioned, uses a d20 instead of 2d12. And you can add the experience of an adversary to the roll's result, as mentioned before. You also set aside a number of character tokens equal to the attack modifier and any applicable experience you have spent fear to add. I'm assuming that's if you're using the whole character token thing that we talked about last week.
Wait, how so? I wasn't there for that, so I don't understand. You explained it to me, but I still don't understand it completely.
Each participant gets 3 tokens. They spend a token when they want to do an action during combat. Basically, as a way to give a kind of action economy in the very loose approach to turn order that Daggerheart is doing.
Okay.
Uh,
Do you use a token anytime, or do you use it?
I think in that system you'd use it when you're declaring an action.
Oh, okay.
And it's a bit loose, but I appreciate it again throwing a bone. And of course, reaction rolls work the same way as attack rolls and just regular rolls for the adversaries. You're rolling a d20. But we also have countdowns. You can use a countdown to track progress toward an event, consequence, or adversary move. Some stat blocks and adventures specifically call for a countdown, but feel free to use them in any scene you wish. So you can use a d20 or another die as a countdown die to track that progression. And each time the countdown ticks down, you tick the die to reduce its value by 1. When it's from 1 to 0, the countdown ends and triggers the event. I suppose this is somewhat analogous to the countdown clock system that you see in Blades in the Dark.
It seems like it, yeah. And I've seen other systems use it too.
Yeah, I know Five of the Ultima uses it, and a few other games
use
it. The idea with a countdown is you either directly tell the players you've done so, or you imply it. And should consider 3 elements when designing a countdown: the activation, the advancement, i.e. how does it advance, and what the effect is when it ends. Many adversaries use a standard countdown in which the die begins on a specific number and ticks down every time a player makes an action roll, regardless of the result. A short countdown in this regard is between 2 to 4, and a longer one would be 5 or higher. If I had to use a video game example, consider raid bosses in an MMO that are charging for some kind of screen clearing attack that you need to get the hell out of dodge for.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called. I know what you mean.
Mm-hmm. On the other hand, there's the option to do dynamic countdowns when it's actively being influenced by the players. These wouldn't tick down every time a player rolls. Instead, it's influenced by the outcome of their rolls or choices. This can be used to track larger scale events or situations happening in the background of a complex scene, and typically have a starting value of 5 to 10. Dynamic countdowns can be categorized as either progress, if they're working toward a desired outcome, or consequence, if they're trying to avoid an outcome. And we have a nice little chart for dynamic countdown advancement. So failure with fear can either be no advancement or tick down 3, then tick down 2 or 1 or no advancement in consequence, or tick down 1, 2, or 3 in progress. If it's if the roll is a failure with fear, with hope, success with fear, success with hope, or a critical. So in reality, the whole progress or consequence thing is more of, is this more beneficial? Is the benefit of the countdown more for the players or for the GM? You can have it where it's a randomized starting value, i.e. countdown 1d6, or loop it. i.e., instead of the countdown just being removed after it times out, it restarts. And you can further complicate things with an increasing or decreasing approach, i.e., every time the countdown runs out, the countdown resets at one higher or one lower. It could also be used to track chases, with each tick of the thing representing one range band. There was a specific measurement for range bands, but it's heavily implied that you shouldn't be trying to imply specific ranges to those range bands. They're more of approximations. Which
Based on vibes.
Mhm. And of course, you can use it for long-term events for a countdown track, which they give a few examples of. Then we get into gold, equipment, and loot. Oh. Next one says vibes-based fire control system. A lot of this is advice on distributing rewards. And since instead of a unified number, gold is divided into handfuls, bags, and chests to determine what you can spend that particular tier of gold on. We do have kind of average costs for things. Let's see, and then running GM NPCs is exactly what you'd think it is. Then optional.
I do like it has the NPC features where it shows you how to gives you some examples of how to set unique features for the NPCs with triggers, countdowns, and all that.
Oh yeah.
I'd like to see some more examples in Justice, considering the sheer variety of what you could probably use an NPC feature for. But we do have some nice ones here.
Yeah, and obviously one can extrapolate from the adversaries we'll probably look into later in the series. But we have a few GM mechanics. First one being Fate Roll.
Specifically, these are optional at this point.
Yeah. A Fate Roll asks the player to roll only their hope or fear die to decide the result. The choice of die doesn't affect the outcome, nor does the roll result grant hope or fear. The die type simply helps add flavor to the roll. You might roll the hope die in lucky circumstances to see if fortune smiles upon you. And you can declare what event occurs if the result falls within a certain number range. Which is nice, but instead of doing this kind of example dialogue of it being in use, I think providing suggestions on what would be good ranges for that, since it is a separate approach to using the dice. And we've got a few examples, but no, some kind of baseline I think I'd appreciate more.
Yeah.
But then we have falling and collision damage. Which, falling damage I don't think I'd use often. Collision damage, well, Zan made a whole build focused on wall banging.
I'll say you'd think thered be some kind of default fall damage in the rolls and not under optional mechanics. Because of course if someone's at the edge of a building and I'm in a fight, I'm going to shove them off. I'm expecting something to happen when they hit the ground.
Per the rules of fiction, if you are shot from a high place, you will fall to your death. Bullets may do you in, but if gravity wants blood, it will get it. The other ones we have is moving and fighting underwater. That's going to be very situational. And as far as the countdown dice starting value of being three, I feel like some of the more aquatic species we've seen would probably have that as a higher one. But then we have conflict between PCs, which feels kind of redundant as an optional GM mechanic.
Yeah.
Let's see, but let's skip ahead into running a session. They talk about thinking in beats, which I like the example that they have here, that of a kind of countdown to things, or to a coup. Preparing combat encounters. Sorry about that. Hopefully none of you heard my phone vibrating on my desk.
No, I did.
That's unfortunate. I have a very sensitive mic. But obviously a lot of this is more on advice. I do like the objective generation prompt. I could see myself using that if I need to pull something out of my ass in the middle of play.
Yeah.
Then downtime. We did get a bit of a vibe to downtime projects, so this is as good a time as any to talk about that. So one of the downtime moves is work on a project, which does require a bit more GM input than other downtime moves. This is usually tracked via a progress countdown. When deciding the starting value, consider the complexity of the project, the availability of relevant tools, and the impact of the project on the story. And when the player rolls to progress their project, if the roll simply ends in a failure, that's not going to feel good, which, yeah. Though I do agree with him here that if you're using the dynamic countdown table, it might be better to have it that a failure just grants them advantage the next time they roll it. On the other hand, maybe it might be better to use the advice they give here, where a failure, the project advances 1 tick. Success with fear, 2. Success with hope, 3, and critical success, 4. On the other hand, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I like how that way is probably the best.
Mm-hmm. Something that I don't think the game wants to encourage is the idea of a failed roll being a narrative stop.
No, which is good. 'Cause it feels bad.
Yeah, it feels bad, and it never feels good when you're not making progress.
No.
Just use a video example. That's why even the most diehard Halo fans hate the library section in Combat Evolved.
Why is that? I'm assuming that it's probably like if you've messed up something, it would like just ends suddenly.
The library, which is probably the most infamous part of Combat Evolved, is a closed off arena with not a whole lot of elevation or cover, that you have to fight waves of enemies against while Guilty Spark tries to quote unquote work on a door. Anybody who's played Destiny, this should sound very familiar because Destiny abused this kind of thing a lot. But overcoming it doesn't feel like progress, it feels like elevator music.
Oh, I see. It's like a fetch quest.
It's more like a stall. Like padding.
Yeah, exactly.
At least with a fetch quest, you're getting something out of it. But
I mean, sometimes.
oh, the good fetch quest. Let's.
I guess, yeah, true. I
But,
feel like with a lot of fetch quests, it's just get something for someone else.
yeah, but at least you're getting gold out of it. But when it comes to GM downtime, they have it that on the players doing a short rest, GM gets 1d4 fear. On a long rest, they gain an amount of fear equal to the number of PCs plus 1d4 and advance a long-term countdown. And you
Feels
might,
kind of Majora's Mask-esque.
yeah, which it is funny how people have turned around on Majora's Mask compared to what people thought of it early on. Like,
I think.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say maybe because you have more options for games now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if you're in Majora's Mask, if you just fuck up, then it's like, okay, this is like the one game I get like every few months, and it's already fucking me up. You know what I mean?
Possibly. I just remember people who were very divisive about it back in the day deciding to pull a 180 on it years later.
Yeah, people back in the day hated the constant resets of the time and all that. They were all wrong. I loved it day one. But a lot of people didn't like it back then because of the time loops.
I mean, to be fair, I didn't like it that much. I was also like a child, and I kind of sucked at video games, so.
I think it was a case of a lot of people wanting just more Ocarina of Time.
Oh, that too, huh?
But we also have a note about extended downtime, which gives 1d6 fear per PC and can advance long-term countdowns as appropriate. And also suggesting maybe multiple work on a project roles. So the only thing I think I would have added personally when it comes to the whole working on a project is what the difficulty of the, or at least some difficulty examples. I mean, I could assume
The book so
15
far has been a little back and forth with giving us examples. Sometimes it's been really good about it. Sometimes like I could have used something here, guys.
But then we have character death. And Monarch, didn't we cover the death moves last week?
Oh yeah, we did earlier. This is just kind of going into a bit more detail on it, just for how you might handle it. I don't think we really need to cover it, but I am happy it's here.
Yeah. Though I think we could give Bailey a bit of a crash course on what death moves are.
Yes. This is unfamiliar territory for me.
The death move...
Quick rundown.
Oh, good.
Okay. I was gonna say the quick rundown. When your character would essentially be about to die, you can go out in a blaze of glory. You can avoid death for some kind of have some kind of a lasting issue. And there's also an option to kind of just risk death or glory.
Mhm.
There's a lot
Oh,
more
I see.
detail than that, but that's the basic idea.
Okay.
It's a fairly interesting system, I think. The straight up avoid death, I think, is the least interesting of the options, and I'd almost say just cut it. Blaze of Glory or Risk It All, much more interesting and engaging, which I think fit the whole narrative style of this game very well. But
I
yeah.
agree, but some people get attached to their characters and don't want them to die, or at least die BS deaths.
Which, as somebody who survived Tomb of Horrors, I can understand that.
I don't know if Tomb of Horrors is a good idea or a good example, just because that's a weirdly designed dungeon. At least in the earliest versions, it's more about player experience and knowledge to tackle anything than your character.
Mhm.
There's stories that like you can clear like basically that entire Tomb of Horrors nonsense with like a level 1 monk, with the exception of a couple of fights.
Yeah.
Your
Which
character
is-
sheet's almost pointless for these dungeons.
Okay, bad example, but I remember, but
yeah.
I think we've all had that one GM who puts those save or die things in their dungeons.
Yeah, I don't like those.
But
I hate save or die abilities.
Oh yeah, those are
but
stupid. Not
Yes.
fun.
but we do have a nice little guideline for running a one shot.
I think everything after this point is kind of just like GM guidelines and whatnot. Again, we don't generally cover all of this. I'm happy it's all here, though.
Yeah. Although I do like this chart for the arc setup about where to do different types of plots for each session. I feel like this would be good if somebody wanted to do the passion play approach where it's assumed you're playing multiple characters.
I also like there's kind of guidelines and ideas for just playing shorter stories versus longer stories. Other systems may not want something like this, but with the heavy narrative focus this wants to go for, all good guidelines to have.
Oh yeah, guidance will always be one of those things that I will never ever shut up about. But that more or less covers the core GM mechanics. Again, a lot of this was advice and some decent advice, but we also got a feel for how fear is going to work, as well as how countdowns
And how GM turns work.
So,
That was really the big reason we wanted to cover this, was how the GM's actually going to take actions.
What? Yeah, true.
But what did you guys think of this particular section?
Well, like the rest of Daggerheart, I feel like it's very aware of like the common like problems CTRPGs has, and it tries to stay modular about it and like aware of it and avoid certain problems, which I'm glad. It's pretty good at doing that.
Oh yeah.
And we already kind of talked about my views, like my issues with Spotlight last week. But if you're using that Spotlight setup with this GM stuff, this is all very good. There's a couple spots we'd like to see a little more guidance and examples. Overall, though, very well put together section.
Yeah, and even though
I don't really have any issues here.
Even though there's some spots that might use a little more guidance, this isn't one of those cases where it's throwing you to the wolves.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, there's my issues with the lack of guidance is mostly just there are spots that need more, but you've got a lot. In the spots where it's missing, it's not going to be that hard to fill in the blanks.
Mhm.
So it's not a big knock on the system.
And it's not over relying on a single paragraph for each, unlike some
Yeah.
games. But the next time we cover Daggerheart, we will be getting into Chapter 4, which is Adversaries and Environments, obviously, but that won't be the game that we cover next week. Next week will be the return of the 3-in-1 rule, which means we are going to be covering a double feature, because I need to do a bit of catch-up since I wasn't able to do the one-off last time because I was in no condition to perform.
You may need to rethink what you just said, because we talked about this a bit in DMs with my job potentially changing here soon. I don't know if I can guarantee if finishing Daggerheart if we skip a week on it.
Yeah, that's... So the approach that we'll do is I'm gonna have it soft locked on the one shot for next week. If it turns out that's not feasible, then we'll shift it to doing Adversaries and Environments next week.
Hopefully I'll know for sure in a few days how that's going to turn out.
Mm-hmm. But the double feature that I've got planned is covering Fight with Spirit to make up for the fact I didn't cover it a few weeks ago. Which the material for that you guys should already have, since it's going to be a lighter affair. For those who haven't heard of it, Fight with Spirit is a TTRPG that is focused on emulating sports anime. And the other one we'll be covering is Dust City Outlaws. Now, Dust City
Never heard
Outlaws,
of it.
which is actually that is not in there. I'm gonna put that in. Is a heist TTRPG. If any of you have played the Thief games, not the remake, we don't count that ever, but the OG Thief games, it's not far removed from that.
Makes sense. So is it like that one game? Dagger? Wait, no. What's it called? Blades in the Dark? Is it like Blades in the Dark?
It's not far off from it. More recently, there was a Cyberpunk spin-off called Neon City Outlaws that got crowdfunded.
Dude, fuck yeah. Wait, Cyberpunk like Cyberpunk 2077 Cyberpunk or just general Cyberpunk?
Just general.
Oh, okay.
And the main thing is that it uses a D100 system along with its own little card setup.
Oh.
But
I do like cards.
Yeah, I've talked about this plenty of times. I think cards as a full-on gameplay mechanic, not a situational gameplay mechanic, is still possessing of a lot of untapped potential. But I'd also say if you enjoy some of the Phantom Thief kind of approaches, that can be done just as well with this game. So it'll be interesting.
I mean, it is a thief.
Yeah. Or if you've gone through films like The Italian Job, or hell, even Ocean's 11, the remake in 2001, obviously not the original Rat Pack version. Which the original is nice. I just like the 2001 version better. But that kind of thing will be on the horizon, possibly next week. If not, it'll be in a few weeks. So keep an eye out for that sort of thing. And of course, a sincere thanks to everyone who took the time out of their schedule to come all the way to my monastery and enjoy the madness. And there will be plenty more where that came from, as there always is here, on the open bar of the internet. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.
Thank you.